name is LeRoi Johnson. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I've been painting since I was very young. I don't know exact age, but let's say 5 years old. I like to work in themes that are Afrocentric and with a base in Catholicism and have some geometrics. My work is somewhat, you might call it eclectic or not formalized, but I basically paint what I see in my mind and what I feel based on experiences from the past. And I try to do it with a concept of primitivism and modernism mixed together. So you'll see a lot of interactive themes in my work. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm always experimenting, and I guess the way you can tell my work is by the coloration, and I use a lot of repeating themes that basically I created myself. I call them my icons, but I remember one time Jesus saying that you really didn't create them. They come from your soul, and your soul has a spiritual base, which is the same spiritual base that most of us have. So that gave me a lot of strength to understand, because sometimes you don't understand your work. I don't know of anyone who does. They are some of the repetitive themes. One is from the Colored People series, and basically it's made of a number of circles, and usually the circles contain a lot of different colors. However, the piece that you have, the emphasis is on black and gold and a little blue. So you don't have as many colors, but the whole concept is the same. It's part of what I call Colored People. And Colored People fits in perfectly right now with what's going on, because it represents your DNA. And your DNA, all of our DNA basically goes back to the roots of the same thing. So we're all colored people, we're all of different colors. The painting that you have behind me is more of my figurative work, but it's also work that talks about my internal experiences with the history of black people and Pan-Africanism. A lot of it you might not be able to figure out for yourself, but a lot of it it's quite obvious. You have it's called the Crucifixion, so that tells you that. But not only is the image of Christ being crucified a part of the image, also the image is you have the Bakota here. And the Bakota is the image that started the entire modern art period by Picasso. That image has been crucified many times, and the credit has never really been given to where it came from. Whereas Picasso abstracted the Bakota, and this is what it is. I mean, this is exactly what it is, with no change. I don't think I did it as well as the original, but it's done. And the other parts that are crucified, you have the image of a black regal person, but the person has one leg, no arms, and more or less because at some times they attempted freedom, and there's prices that you pay for freedom. And in the sense of during the slavery period, if you attempted to escape, you lost a limb. And the other parts of it are the land of gold is wherever you're from. And that land is lush and beautiful, which I use the greenery in the back. But also, I'm not even looking at the painting, but I remember it that there's also what they call the Pillars of Hercules, which is the separation of the old world from the new. And those lines in there take you to the new world. It's like an infinite world, but it's beyond the Gibraltar and the rest of it. It's just beyond that. So, that's basically what it's about. And there's actually there's two sons there. There's a son, and then there's the Son of Christ. So there's a lot of play that I work with and conceptualize. This was, to be honest with you, Abagius asked me for a painting that represented Christ, and I had a painting in the basement. I said, I have this painting, but I never saw it in the light. I really didn't, because I don't paint in the light. That's a secret I should not tell. I don't paint in the light. I let my paints, while I'm painting, bring the color up while I'm there, and so they become very bright when you actually see them. And when Abagius saw it, he says, there's so much color in there. And I was like, where? It's like, because I had painted it kind of in the dark. It became more special once he liked it. It wasn't one of my favorites, but it became. My paintings are always my favorites once they leave. And once somebody hangs them, then I want my paintings back. And it's taken me here, which is very special. And it included me in a group of very distinguished Brazilian and South American artists and American artists, which means all about this painting. It is very important to me because I grew up as a Catholic. How you portrayed Christ was important. I always thought that there are no black people in heaven. So the only way to get them there is for me to create an image of that, so that who saw my work would understand that there are black Christs. In your catechisms and your books, and there was nothing about black people at all in anything. And any time you saw a black person in a film or anything, it was a lesser part. I actually was asked by one person, why don't you have any white people in your painting? And I was like, you can't be serious. So I said, do you walk around in the museums and ask why are there no black people? And that I'm black, this is my world. Without any involvement from anyone other than black artists, that they created masterpiece, that we created masterpieces, that if you did not know that it wasn't from the majority race, or you would still be able to recognize that these are masterpieces. And if you place them alongside of any works from the period, you will see that these works are comparable to any of the works of that period. So this is important for people to see. This exhibit here is very important. It's important not just for black people, it's important for the world, because remember, this world is composed of 100% people, which are all mixed. And that's what my theme is about. Colored people, we're all mixed, and usually I have masked on my people, and you have to unmask them, and once you unmask them, you see we're all the same. For years, I had been compared to Abba Gis, and I didn't see his work. I just knew that people thought of him highly in my city as a great artist. And some people knew I was going back and forth to Brazil, and one day, a close friend of mine, he says, I got this number of Abba Gis, call him. See, so I called him, and the lines opened, I answered the phone, and I says, my name is LeRoi Johnson, I'd like to speak to Abba Gis. And she says, well, what do you want to talk to him about? And I says, I'm an artist. And she says, and? I said, well, I'm an artist. And I hear Abba Gis in the background. Abba Gis says, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? He says, an artist, he wants to talk to you. Well, he said, send me some work if you can remember. And so I sent him some work, and right after that, he called and said, come. So I'm sitting with Abba Gis with my broken Portuguese, and Abba Gis will not speak English with you, but we bonded that moment. After I showed him some of my work and we started becoming friends, I thought nothing about being part of the collection. And then there was going to be his 90th, I believe, anniversary show at the National Archives, and he asked me would I take part, and I said, yes. And he asked me, did I have anything with Christ in it? And then it goes with that story, and I said, well, I do. I have a few pieces with Christ. But then I had to think about it. He said, well, you have to give it to us. Really, not understanding where it's going or anything like that. But I love the man, and I love what he represented. And I said, let me get something. And I brought it to him, and he was so happy for it, and that made me happy, because I had never seen it, the painting in the light. It was in the basement. And after that, I was in a number of shows with Abba Gis. I mean, one day I just, I was trying to figure my art out, and I had been showing in Europe, and artists have to have an epiphany of who they are one day. I don't know if I told you, I was at the Othon Hotel on one of the top floors, and I was looking out the window trying to figure out who I was, and I looked to the left and I saw the mountains, and I looked to the right and I saw the mountains, and I saw the ocean in front of me, and I said, this is my painting. Without ever having been here in Brazil, this is my painting. And that's when my first love, my second love, my first love was Black Orpheus. When I saw the film Black Orpheus, I said to myself, that is where I should be. I've been involved in the arts for many years on the administrative side with museums. I was a trustee of the Birchfield. But one of the things that I've noticed is that there wasn't very much attention at all to black art. And the first thing that you need presence, some kind of presence. So my presence on the boards there meant a difference, but it did not, it just was the first step. No black had ever done a major show at certain museums. Still, there are only a few blacks who are doing major shows. The same group going all around. As being a board member, I pushed for black exhibits. So the first thing they did was the group shows, but that wasn't enough. A lot of the black artists themselves, they're not pushing for shows, major shows. They push for things in other areas, but they're not pushing for major solo shows. I was asked to curate some shows, and I refused. I said, unless it's a major show for a solo artist, and that put me at odds with the Black Artist Group, because they want to have a large group show, and I want to have a large solo show. The first question was, do I have enough work to do a solo show? And so I invited the person to my home and studio, and when he sat there, and I just said to him, I said, I'm going to say something to you first. And the first thing I'm going to say to you is that I have enough work for 10 of your museums. And the second thing is I helped to build this building. And how dare you ask me? The question should be, am I qualified? That's the question. And if I'm qualified, then the question, especially during this period, is why isn't there a show? I mean, and that's the question that most museums should have. But I see now, because of the George Floyd effect, that many of the museums are hiring curators, black curators and assistant curators, which is a major change. You won't get the shows unless you have the curators. The mission has to be more than just being on the board. The mission has to be to change the environment and to change the thinking. And there was a period last year after the George Floyd event where a number of museums fired their curators because they did not have the appropriate mission. This show here is what all museums should be doing, pulling together a collective, and I'm just proud to be a part of this, because this is something that I can take back and show that in other parts of the world they're doing these kinds of things. And we're supposed to be America, and we're supposed to be ahead of the curve. And in many respects, we're not. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy for my involvement. I miss my friend Abagias. This is what has come of my association with him. So this will be more important 50 years from now, because it took Abagias 75 years close to get here. And in another 50 years, we may not need this conversation, hopefully. You know, but it takes someone with vision to do something like this. And finally, it's here.